Hello, everyone.
Hi.
How do y'all feel about our St. Patrick's Day get up?
I think we're precious.
I just want to say ho, ho, ho.
Different kind of hoe on St. Patrick's Day.
Andre, are you saying we're not live yet?
No, I'm there yet. I'll check our page real quick.
There's one. Yeah, so I think if we were doing the full effect, we would have the eyebrows.
100%.
But we're not that committed. But Andrea in our office, she is committed to the orange Lorax eyebrows.
Yes. So we're excited for everybody that's here. So in the chat, please tell us where you're from. If you're with the Lemon Seed team, put that in the chat too.
You ready to take them off?
No, I just feel like, is this what men do?
Ew.
Pet it?
Well, this lip hair, as it's getting in my mouth, that would be it'd be a deal breaker for me.
That sounds terrible.
Especially if it was this bright orange.
I mean, power to the gingers.
They do rule the world.
Yes.
And they're
so welcome. As you come in, please tell us where you're from. If you're with Lemon Seed, we'd love to hear that too, because our Lemon Seed team loves to watch our lives. But Emily and I are only in this get up for a little bit. This is only a treasure for early arrivers.
Yes. You got to be the first here to get this goodness.
Absolutely. And so we want to know where you're from. If you do HVAC, electrical, pest control, tell us what you do. We'll try to even carve some of our examples out for that. We already had some great questions sent to us.
Yeah. So some people submitted some questions to us on our social media channels. You can message us those, or you can type them down in the chat. But we figured these are some that are kind of applicable to everyone in the trace. Figured we would give you some little golden nuggets, if you will, that you can put in your pot of gold to help your marketing. So you want to get started with our first one?
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Are we doing it with the beards on?
No, I'll keep the glasses on, but
here we
this
go.
is unfortunate.
Oh, I can breathe.
Ta-da! No, I am putting this little leprechaun hat back on because it's precious. And I will probably wear these too.
And the best part about these is the dangles.
Yeah, I'm not really a dangle girl, but I'm here for it.
All right. So, okay, this is one that I thought was pretty interesting. What trends do you think home service contractors should be paying attention to in 2025? Well, you know what keeps catching my attention is Smart AC with their kind of monitoring over maintenance. There's maintenance club programs, VIP programs, whatever you want to call it. That's been in the industry for a long time. But there's been some players shaking up some things with doing monitoring versus a traditional maintenance plan.
Right, versus just maintenance. Yeah. So a lot of us know that to build our business, for most of us that need the reoccurring service model, we need to have a good maintenance style plan. So again, depending on what service you're in, if you're a roofer, it's a little bit more of a challenge, but I still have leprechaun.
And I still have the orange fuzz in my
mouth. But I really will tell you, like, maintenance clubs were trendy. They're still great. Very good to help float yourself through the shoulder season.
Absolutely.
But now I wouldn't get rid of a maintenance plan. I would just add monitoring to it. So think about it this way, like someone goes on vacation and you're actually able to log in, if you will, to their system and see what's going on with it and alert them of anything. So most of y'all are doing honest and truthful work anyway, so you can kind of be ahead of the game there. So it's an interesting thing to promote.
Yeah, no, I think it's very interesting. Like I said, I was asking Crystal because I keep seeing their ads all the time. And so I texted her, I was like, have you seen this one friend? Like, who is that? And she's like, I haven't seen that one. I was like, I'll screenshot the next time I see it. And sure enough, the next time I opened up social media, it was right there. And so, but doing very interesting things there. I think that's definitely a trend home service contractors should be paying attention to. At least familiarizing yourself with it so that you can make a decision like, is this good? Is this a good next step for you?
Or preparing, if anything.
Yes. And you don't have to make every move or jump on every single trend that happens. But the more you can familiarize yourself, same thing with like AI. I know that's a hot topic. Some people are loving it and embracing it. Some are like, it's the devil. It's taking all the jobs.
Yeah.
But
well, and I would say this too. So like with AI, it's a resource. You need to be utilizing resources to solve problems. Again, it can be very daunting. So it's one of those things you ease into it before you just go crazy with it. But AI is super cool. resource for you to use for a lot of things. Another trend that I think home service contractors should pay attention to in 2025 is not putting all of your eggs in one basket, all of your coins in one cauldron here, because what you do is you really hurt yourself in the marketing funnel, right? So we know the marketing funnel, the way that people work is most of the time people do not need our services. So we're going to spend a lot of dollars just making people aware of who we are. Just like, hi neighbor, I'm here. So, you spend literal years for our contractor specifically, you're going to spend years of just constantly putting your name and your company in front of people. And so it really is the sum of all. So digital is a super important piece of the puzzle. Social media is an important piece of the puzzle. GLSA, all those things are very important pieces of the puzzle, but you can't make a whole picture without those different pieces. And so if you look at your marketing budget and the majority of your budget is in one thing, SEO, or I'm just a PPC guy, or I'm just doing direct mail, you're probably missing the boat by not diversifying your
100%. And this was happening earlier this year, like when Google was changing their algorithm and doing all the things and changing the rules to LSA, all that stuff. And it's like, okay, if all your eggs are in Google, like they literally kind of own you at that point. So if you're going to put all your eggs in one basket, I think you would agree with this. The only place to put it is in your own brand.
Yeah.
Something that you own that will stand the test of time, that isn't trendy and is going to come and go. That is the one thing that you can own, adapt it to your different marketing tactics. But that's the thing that's not the trend, will outlive anything.
Yeah. And another little pro tip here is, a lot of times we are tricked into thinking that, oh my gosh, I have to be so forward thinking. When really, what I want to do is most contractors need to jump back to basics. So fall back to just like basic things. But everything will naturally perform better when you have a stronger brand, when people know who you are.
Absolutely.
So this is why I'm going to go into a new market. I'm going to launch direct mail. And I'm going to say direct mail, will it have a response? Probably. But will it have the best response? No. Because you want people to cold call you off of a direct mail piece that you sent them when they have no idea who you are.
Absolutely.
I mean, I don't know about y'all, but like I have a neighborhood group, like Facebook page.
Tell them what your group chat is called.
Dear Trace Thugs.
Yeah, that's our name, Dear Trace Thugs.
But our neighborhood group is like, probably a lot of neighborhoods have those groups that you join. Like I live in a little area called Dear Trace. So, people join it. Well, right now there's all these people that just get in there by accident, and they'll be like, we're doing a dryer vent cleaning and a duct cleaning for the first 10 people in this neighborhood. Please help me, all this stuff. And I'm like, man, you're really no better than them when you're just cold pushing things out with no attention to branding.
Right. So making yourself just more known, being present in their community before you start targeting with some of those direct mail call to action type pieces. You got to make yourself known more.
Yeah.
So
one more trend that I'll say is when you're creating audiences, so email audiences or ad audiences, I think the more niched down you can get, so the more specific messaging that you can send to the exact right customer at the right time, I think should be something. If you have the capabilities to be able to think that deep into your marketing, then I think that's definitely so. People that had you got their system up and running for them last summer, but summer's coming, sending them a, hey, we were out there last summer message, right? And remind them like, hey, it was this time last year that we saved you and we kind of limped you along. It's time to replace. Niching down those audiences.
But the only way that you can really get super niche down in there is you got to have a CRM system with the appropriate tags and resources to build out these audiences, and then garbage in, garbage out. So making sure that is set up, and make sure your team knows it. Okay, like great if you went and set it all up and you have it all organized and there's no duplicates or anything like that, but then like you didn't tell anybody, or they don't know the proper way to do it once someone does call in, or how to tag the job once they actually go service it. You've got to have that data to be able to create those super niche audiences so that you can send super targeted emails, text messages, things like that.
Yeah, teaching your team why we're doing what we're doing, for sure. Okay, we have another question here.
Okay.
So I have a marketing budget, but how do I know how much to spend and where?
That's a great question. And we get that a lot with contractors like, I'll spend the money. I just don't know where or how or like.
Unlimited budget for things that work. That's my favorite comment.
Well, and we've seen sometimes on our intake form, it'll be like, money is no problem. We're like, okay, let's go. Like,
let's do it, you know?
No, but we kind of roughly have a formula, and this is kind of moldable a little bit, but roughly we're going to say you need to dedicate about 50% of your marketing budget to digital. Okay. So like all roads lead to the internet. And so when we say digital, that is investing in your website, in SEO, but then also in the paid ad structure for PPC ads, for Google local service ads, things like that. So a digital platform, you need to have about, we're suggesting probably 50% of your budget.
Of your total marketing dollars and budget. Yes.
Well, how else would they break it up?
No, well, and I think the important piece here is Emily's exactly right, but this needs to be built on your revenue goal for the year that you're in. So this is what happens a lot of times. People will reach out and say, how much should I be spending? I did $2.4 million last year. And when I come out and tell them, well, how much are you wanting to grow? All of these things matter, right? How much are you wanting to grow? How strong is your brand? Do you have the capacity? So we can go crazy, but we need to make sure you have some foundational things understood. And remember, we're working towards a goal. So normally I like to recommend on average, if you're trying to grow at all, I would encourage you to be somewhere between 7, 8, 9, 10% of your marketing goal. So if your goal, you're at 2.4, your goal is to hit 2.5. Well, that's not much of a goal.
It's not much of a
But if your goal is to hit 3.4, we got to make up $1 million. How do we do that? And where do we allocate that money? That's when you take that. If I can get you to 8, 10%, let's say 10%, then you would take that 10% of your revenue goal.
3.4.
Yeah. So that's how much $340,000 in total marketing advertising dollars that we have to work with. So then that's when, like Emily mentioned, we're going to start splitting that up. So 50% of it's going to go over here just to build our digital presence. And a lot of that is a little fluid because I live in rural East Texas. I don't even need 50% of that budget probably to be the top of the bat there. But I have lots of clients that live in the major hottest places. So Dallas, Fort Worth, Phoenix, Las Vegas, even Atlanta, Georgia now is becoming pretty popular. So, are pretty progressive and aggressive with their competitiveness. And so, that's just to show you a chunk of your budget's going to need to go to what do you look like online so that when people are researching you, you show up in as many places as possible. Then you got the other 50%.
Yep.
So, Lemon Seed has that 3-bucket approach. We've talked about this before, but 3 buckets that all of your advertising has to go into: a branding bucket, a call to action bucket, and a cultivation bucket. So branding is like we just mentioned earlier. How are you just telling people about who you are and what you do? What advertising tactics are you using that are specifically the expectation is just awareness?
Yep.
Right.
Make myself known.
Yeah. Then that call to action bucket's in the middle. That's more when people are ready to buy. They're at the bottom of the funnel. They're past the consideration phase. They're ready to buy.
Yep.
They're ready to buy. Then how do you show up then? So hopefully you're getting some direct searches. So people just searching your exact company name to just get your phone number versus people going out there like all willy-nilly, like, who knows the cheapest AC company? How many of y'all sit at home like, please don't
don't tag me on Facebook.
Please don't tag me.
No.
Like that's like when people are like, I need a new brand. Who's the cheapest designer? I'm like, please don't tag us. Because we don't, that's not our customer, number one, but we also want to be available to people that are looking. So remember, no matter how hard you try on your branding, there will still be people that go out there, free agent out there looking for a partner. So you want to be there. And then that last bucket is the cultivation bucket. And that bucket is where, hey, you've already paid for these ads, right? Those of you that are paying $300 and $400, $600 for leads, and even $90 for leads, you already paid for them. So once you get them in there, start cultivating them and talking to them. So that second 50% of that budget goes to those two: call to action and some cultivation. The cultivation side can be pretty low cost because it should be email marketing, maybe some texting,
like Chirp
and direct mail. Yeah, might be the most expensive thing to do, but definitely worth there. Now, those of you that feel like, man, I don't want to grow, which I know that sounds weird to some of you. Some of you are like had a little heart palpitations there, but not every contractor is just like ready to grow 50% year over year. I'm going to tell you, at minimum, I think any company needs to be sending 5%. And that's what we call maintaining level. But again, this is so circumstantial because I get some of y'all that are in a very low competitive market and you really don't have to spend a lot. But I think the biggest thing that you and I hear is, well, I'm going to do $8 million this year and I've never had to advertise before. So, you know me, I'm like, well, imagine where you could be if you did.
Absolutely.
Like, $8 million fell in your lap. Imagine if we really tried hard where you could be.
Well, and I think we could probably all agree what got you here isn't going to get you there. So if you do have these aggressive growth goals, you're like, I'm just going to spend the same as what I spent last year. Well, okay, that's not going to get you there. That got you to here. It's not going to get you there.
Yeah.
So like what you said at the very beginning, setting that percentage amount based off of what your goal is to help you get to that next number.
And listen, another little pro tip here. I'm going to tell you, Lemon Seed is like very, very close to implementing this. We really want to see that you have some sort of best practice group, a business coach, a consultant, because we have just seen with our own eyes, and it's not even one particular coach or service group. Many times, if we know that the contractor is a part of a best practice group, we automatically know that they're going to at least be paying attention better to their numbers. I'm going to tell y'all the biggest problem in marketing for contractors is their own self, fear, scared money never made money kind of thing. Like, it's scary, it's risky, and a lot of you just aren't risky.
Yep. Or they'll question the people that they just hired to do this for them. Like, get in their own way.
But that was a nice way of saying, y'all call Lemon Seed and be like, how should we market? And then when we're like, this is what we think you need to do, you're like, well, that'll never work. I mean,
I don't like it.
Yeah. And so one of our, we're going through EOS, and like one of the things I was thinking, like, what is our biggest, things we need to work on? And I'm like, man, getting contractors out of their own way, like helping them navigate that. Because honestly, I can tell a lot of times from their discovery call with Lemon Seed, like just from talking to them, I'll say, well, tell me about your marketing. Like, well, nothing ever works. I mean, and that automatically tells me that there's more than one problem, and odds are it's just having clear expectations.
And one thing I would just add, because I know this is, on both of our hearts, I would allocate some money towards community support in your marketing budget. And it doesn't have to be a whole ton. Approximately like 1% of your total revenue could go towards community support. So whether that's sponsoring nonprofits and their local events, if that's participating in these different
a walk
things,
or buying dog food or something.
Yes. But make it fun. Own it. Okay. Don't just like, here's my logo, put it on the back of the t-shirt, but like have the team show up, have your truck show up that's branded and wrapped, have your mascot show up and give out candy, set it up at the kids things where like the kids can crawl through the ducting work or whatever it might be, but like be intentional. And like, that's another way to continue out your brand and make your brand more known, that top aware. So it's not like a traditional advertising tactic, but like it really kind of is.
Well, that leads me into this next question right here that I really liked. Okay. How can home service contractors build a memorable brand even on a limited budget? And so again, I feel like Lemon Seed is prepared to help any contractor that's willing to invest. So, I like to say, man, it's really not to utilize Lemon Seed. You probably need to be spending over $100,000 in marketing. Can sound kind of scary, but most people are there or close to it anyway. But what we're really looking for is a contractor that understands the importance of not just investing money, but time and energy. So, hey, I don't have a ton of money to build a memorable brand. Like, I'm assuming we mean like mass media. So, hey, it's really expensive to buy a bunch of radio or billboards or whatever. So I'll throw out one, I'll let you throw out another one, but like building a memorable brand, I think even something simple as a yard sign campaign, right? So go print 25, maybe even 50 yard signs and just go canvas and put them out in an area of your town that just are branded, like, Crystal's Heating and Cooling. Make sure it has your logo on it, your web address on it. See if you can get a QR code on it. But go put it in neighborhoods. So like not on the interstate, on the side of the road where I'm going 80. I have not seen it. You wasted your energy. But like right where I turn into my neighborhood or where I go to the local park.
Where I'm turning to go to Chick-fil-A. Because I'm there.
Shout out Lufkin. That's exactly what happens. But again, and ask for permission. But again, remember that having clear expectations. The yard sign campaign, you shouldn't go, I put out 20 yard signs, I'm waiting on 50 calls and to sell 10 systems.
Yep, done.
Done. I don't know what happened here. It was a waste of money. It was not a waste of money. You have to have the expectation. So, hey, I'm putting out these signs and it's to build awareness. So also they only can last so long.
Right. They will get taken, stolen, whatever, eventually. Okay.
So set a calendar invite to be like, in 6 weeks, I'm going to go back and pick all those up.
Yep. Or, I'm going to get more printed, like these $7 yard signs. Okay. I'm literally talking $7, y'all. Okay. But have the right expectations. Like Crystal said, you're not going to immediately sell 10 systems the next day after you put those out, but it is building that top of mind awareness. And so having those clear expectations, like, yeah, I'm gonna have to go replace some, or some might get damaged from the lawnmower or whatever it might be. But yeah, it won't hurt your feelings as bad when you have those clear expectations.
So if you can't afford a billboard campaign or something like that, and if you're worried about HOAs and stuff like that, there's got to be a way. Mm-hmm. Also, I mean, sometimes I'd rather just pay the fine. That's just me.
Well, I mean, it's so interesting.
Come at me, bro.
I remember watching the, I think it was The Last Dance about Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls and stuff. But they were talking about when he got his Nike deal for his Nike shoes, you had to wear the team shoes. But he wanted to wear his own, Air Force One. So the fine, if you didn't wear their shoes, was $5,000. But Nike was like, that's the best $5,000 we ever spent.
Yes.
Yeah, so we'll pay that every single game. Yeah, we'll pay that fine. Okay, back to building a memorable brand. Again, like you said, going back to basics, and I'll touch on community support a little bit more. And what you said about needing more than just money is when you can have a team member like your community marketer or your marketer that is in-house for you. What boards are they serving on? What ribbon cuttings are they going to? What else are they doing to make they themselves more known so they can always be talking about your company? Sometimes those are more of the grassroots, but like people like to do business with people they know. So make yourself known, provide that human element, be someone that brand or that nonprofit can count on when they're like, hey, we need someone to sponsor the local stock market. We can do it. Like someone is there to raise their hand. So it's kind of that back to basics, but just getting someone in your actual company, an actual person out and about, getting them known, I think is something that can really, and that's one thing that those private equity companies will not do.
No, they're not fluid like that. Yep. They don't, not all, but a lot of them don't value the cool things that you can do in the community. And so some of the things that also like some other things are the community support at the local baseball games. Mm-hmm. So I know that Barbara, I saw her commented on here. So a photo booth is almost something that it is something that you can do without physically being present. So you can like, hey, you know what I'm going to do is send you a photo booth down there where all the kids at opening day can get their picture taken. And there's my logo. And all these people are going to go home and hopefully people are sharing it, run a hashtag contest behind it for social media. And so,
I mean, if you do the prints, like I'm going to take that print home and put it on my fridge.
Yep.
If the template has your logo on that, that is just like free advertising for every time I open the fridge.
Okay. Because what is the expectation of this? Branding.
Correct.
So again, you're not going to be like, thank God I did opening day. I sold 4 water heaters off of that. That's not going to happen. You just have to know, like, you're just making inroads in the memory of people that own their homes.
Well, and I like you gave the example of opening day at baseball. Like another way you can do that is like, okay, we are in business to provide comfort. So how can I provide comfort to these people at opening day baseball games? So can I print seat cushions to go give out to everyone sitting on the bleachers? Or can I have branded water bottles? So I'm going to go deliver water to everyone there because it's so hot. Like, how can we? So no, you're not in the business of selling seat cushions, but by going and giving someone hey, we provide comfort. This is the way we do it.
Yeah.
That is a memorable thing that boots on the ground, like they won't forget. Oh, thank goodness someone brought me a seat cushion.
Well, yeah. I mean, and plumbers, like, hello, like water.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, like, don't flush your money down the drain, like some cool stuff like that. Roofing. Like, why would you not have shade tents built up with shade? Like, just think about your industry and how you can apply that. So again, a lot of that's relatively inexpensive. The items are probably the most expensive piece of that, but that's one way. Another way is social media. So listen, social media outside of your time is free.
Yep.
The problem is you're not intentional enough to actually go do the posting, or you don't feel creative enough. Well, there's agencies, I mean, like Lemon Seed, and there's some others that offer like, hey, here's all the creative ideas that you need. The problem is people are like, I don't really think social media works. You got to define works.
Correct.
Right. So does it work again where I make a crazy post about 3 ways to make lemonade and someone call me and be like, oh my God, thank you so much. I've been ready to rebrand my company because you were making lemonade today. That's not how it works. But what it does work is they saw me one more time.
Yep.
They heard Emily one more time. They saw our podcast. They saw our live. They saw these things. These are all intentional pieces that may not have an immediate return, but my goal is to network enough through all these different things that they can't help but think of me.
Correct. And you gotta, in setting those expectations, you gotta give it some time to marinate and to gain some traction. Okay. It'll eventually have that kind of exponential growth. So be in it, be willing to commit to it for, at least a few months. Okay. But don't just give it 1 week and go, didn't work. This sucks. I hate it. So
It does lean, it does lean into this one. How can home service contractors use social media to showcase their work and expertise without feeling overly promotional?
So, I mean, I think like a behind the scenes or like a day in the life of, I think so many people have no idea like what a plumber actually does or what an HVAC technician actually comes across and stuff, or have almost like a little series like craziest thing I saw in the attic, this time or something. Like those are things that people are like, it's not salesy, but it is showing like, hey, I have my guys up in the attic. They are the professionals. Here's the extra step that they took to keep my house clean, or they cleaned this out for me when they were installing this. But it can be an entertaining factor as well, too, which is super appropriate for social media. Social media is to be social, not to be sold to. So how can you put a creative social spin
people
to
love
it?
before and afters. So especially if you go out there and you're replacing a 30-year-old system or an old rusted water heater or a terrible roof, pest control, you go in there and there's all these mice droppings, and you show where y'all are cleaning it up or de-webbing and things like that. When you show the befores and afters, people are interested in that naturally. You're not having to tell them to be interested. And again, it just takes more intentionality and time than it takes anything.
Well, and I think it's Gettle that does the red screws. Like they'll go and add the red screws to where anyone before them, like they were skimping out and they didn't put all the screws in all the right places. They're like, hey, here's where we, made up the mark for it. So another thing that I think, and it's not necessarily mentioned here, but social media is also great for employee attraction, gaining future employees. It's showcasing the culture of what it's like to work at your company or how we treat and serve customers. So, I think everyone is always looking for good talent, and the up and coming young generation. Don't laugh at me, but I do follow Dave Ramsey.
I like Dave Ramsey.
I like Dave Ramsey too. I don't follow like all of his principles.
I'm gonna say, I ain't got like 7 months and no car down. I will get a car loan.
Well, and like I'm not gonna carry no cash, okay? Like, I'm not gonna have the individual bags of cash. But anyways, I saw a clip today on his social media that was talking about like the next generation of millionaires, and it was talking about plumbers, HVAC contractors, and electricians. And it's how saying that like this Gen Z, whatever the next one is that's coming up, how they're also discouraged by college debt and the cost of education, looking into the trades, realizing that they can make good money doing it, and they don't have to have all that debt. So like be on your social media and be active to show like, hey, this is a great place to have a career. It's not just a job, And so I think sometimes people forget about that aspect of it too, is how you're always recruiting for your own company by doing some of these things.
Yeah. And honestly too, like, I don't know about y'all, but like, I love to see people celebrating their people. So, and again, remember, what's the expectation? So let's talk about the backside of that. Yes, I love to tell everybody about the best plumbers and things like that. But really what I want the world to know is that we are busy and we're active, because people want to do business with like cool things. So, when trending things. So that's why like influencer marketing right now has become so popular. Like everybody, have you not watched a TikTok influencer open their mail? It is ridiculous. But do you know why? Because literally one person saying your name or saying something that you do can change the trajectory of your company.
For sure.
And so it's the same thing here. Like be your own influencer, right? So like talk about your company and talk about your people and encourage people. Like we love to support the Humane Society of Angelina County. We were so excited to donate, 1,000 pounds of dog food. Here is a link to where you can donate. Here's how you can get involved. It comes across as very philanthropic as versus salesy.
Sure. Well, and it's giving back, it's doing the things. And a lot of these people, you are good companies that have a heart for your community. And so that's just another way to do it.
Another thing is like sound. So like ASMR type stuff, right? So like when you are, the drills, well, I don't want to like whisper into it.
No, I hate those.
Run it,
but
like
it is
run
popular.
feathers. I'm talking about like drilling things in, or like the sound
yeah.
of like shutting the van doors and stocking things. people are mesmerized by sounds that they don't normally hear.
No, that's a great point.
So, when you're outside and like, you might need a hard start right on a system because it sounds like brakes are tearing off when it shuts down. Like, does your system sound like this? People are going to be like, no, but my mom's does, or like my neighbor's does. My next door neighbors that used to live next to me, I'm like, I don't know what's going on with your condenser, but it slightly sounds like someone's trying to break out of jail every night about 3:00 in the morning because it's rattles.
Well, I mean, we literally had that. So our next door neighbor, like she's an older lady, and so she doesn't get out in the yard, and her big condenser is on the side of our house. So like our kids are, and they're like, "What is that sound?" And all of a sudden it was like,
yeah.
So we had to tell her like, "Hey, ma'am," like, and she's like, "Oh, I'd have never realized,"
Yeah,
But
the sounds are cool.
Yep.
Again, before and afters, and if you have a technician that's willing to talk out loud. And say anything, like make them read their own reviews. So it's kind of funny, especially when there's one about them that's like, because sometimes you'll get them and like, listen, this borders the line, this toes the line, but live a little. When they'll say, I had the most handsome technician, Wesley, come out. He was so kind. Well, make Wesley read that out loud. Like, hey, it's confessions from a handsome technician, right?
Yes.
And people love it. So what you're doing is exposing them. Like, look at all these reviews that they have, but putting this soft spin to it. That and like anniversaries and birthdays and things like that. Like, not only will they feel it, and again, most of y'all are dealing with dudes who are never going to admit that they like it, or might threaten you to not put it on there. But at the end of the day, you have to teach them why you're doing it.
Well, a lot of times it can even be like not even so much for that employee itself, but like the employee's family to realize like, hey, they really appreciate my spouse. Like he works for a great company, so that when he's out all summer long, from 6:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. and is every single day back to back to back. Like it can build some buy-in from the team, the family at home.
Well, and like even like Emily and her family and some of our close friends own the cigar lounge in town. If you came to the Lemon Seed conference, you would have seen the cool cigar lounge that's in downtown Lufkin. But as a founding member or as a certain member, you get to make like, this is my cigar pick. So I remember when my husband's came out of his cigar pick, I was like, oh, it's Ray's cigar pick. I should go tell everyone, because I was like, this is cool, right? This is how I can relate to something that is special to my husband. And so don't forget, remember, most of us need to be marketing to women anyway. And so they love to have success stories, to hear about these people. And so just don't sleep on that. I think that's a cool way to showcase it without being overly promotional. And then also you should be putting in there like, hey, everybody, it's Crystal with Lemon Seed Marketing, and we are running a special for St. Patrick's Day, right? Like there's nothing wrong with those being woven inside of there. They just shouldn't be the predominant thing that you're posting.
Right. 100%.
All right. So here's another one. It's interesting. We're going to pivot a little bit here, but what is your best tip for handling customer complaints and turning them into positive experiences?
Oh, so this is so literally we did this on our Monday morning meeting this morning. So we like to give our team scenarios to kind of help prepare them for, when the contractors might throw something crazy at them. And so today our scenario was a technician gets caught on the Ring doorbell saying something crazy about the customer. So like terrible. And none of y'all's technicians would ever do that.
No, absolutely not. Not anybody on this call.
But the homeowner posted it on social media. It's gone viral-esque, if you will. So like, what do you do there? And so our team was kind of coming up with some good ideas for it. Yeah. And so the main thing is to kind of like, how can you get in front of it? How can you prevent it? You don't need to add fuel to it. You don't need to like panic at that moment. We're like, oh, shut the company down. Okay. Like this too shall pass. But like one thing we see a lot is sometimes people can get like mob mentality. So like if someone posted that bad video, I'm like, oh, that's my girl, I'm going to go leave them a bad review.
Yeah.
You can dispute some of those Google
reviews.
Is
it tacky for me to tell people they're trashy when they do that or no?
Comment on there. That's your response.
Yeah.
Man, you are trashy. Don't do that. Okay.
That was not PR advice. Do not take that advice.
But yeah, getting in front of it. I also wouldn't make it wherever the instance happened. So like if you sent a blunder in an email, like, oh my gosh, we had this typo, we sent it to the wrong group, I would send the follow-up in the email. I wouldn't post about it on social media. Or if it happened on social media, I would just make my response to it there. I wouldn't go send out a text message to the people, like drawing more attention to where.
Hey, everybody, in case y'all didn't know, we made a terrible mistake. I took out a billboard campaign. You're right. So number one, I tell everybody, everybody take a deep breath.
Yeah.
Take a minute before we respond because your emotions are going to be heightened. So the minute you start realizing that there's this viral video going around with a technician that's cussing whatever he did, racial slurs, whatever's terrible, right? Take a minute
Mhm.
and weigh out what's really going to happen. So how bad is it? And where did it happen? And how do you correct it? So, I mean, people do need to see that you're responding or you're reacting to it. But remember, you control the narrative here. So you can't engage and become an also trashy keyboard warrior. Like,
Mhm.
I'm not going to fight anybody on social media over
Absolutely
anything
not.
that happens.
Yeah, no.
And I tell everybody, if y'all ever see me doing that, I've been kidnapped, and this is what they're making me do to not get shot or die. So
One
Yeah.
of my favorite campaigns, and I still remember that it's probably 15 years old, but I remember being in college and Domino's Pizza was kind of going through their rebrand and stuff. And so Domino's, like, it was like on the decline. Like, people were kind of hating Domino's and stuff. And so they're like, okay, we're going to own this. Okay. And so that we can do better. So, like, I remember they would have commercials like, this was the pizza that we delivered to Crystal's house, and it was completely smashed. All the cheese was on the top of the box. They're like, this isn't okay. We're going to do better. But like, they owned all of their mistakes,
Yeah.
and they spun it. They were making lemonade out of lemons. Okay?
Yes.
So people understand, and they can relate to you more, because at the end of the day, people want to do business with people, not a company or a corporation. Okay. So when you can show your human side, that you are real, you do mess up, but here's how we're going to correct it and do better.
Yeah.
I think owning up to it can go a huge way.
Yeah. And then, making a statement, thank God for Chat GPT. For those of y'all that do not have
Yes.
a marketing company or a PR company that you can help you formulate this message, I encourage you, like, go online to Chat GPT and literally, like, pour your guts out. This is what happened. Help me formulate a response. Because you need to be careful that you don't do a lot of things like when I say taking full ownership, like, oh my gosh, we ran over your dog and killed it and took out your mailbox. We're terrible people. It's more like an unfortunate accident happened. And we are investigating it. Like, there's lots of ways to still have some loose yet firm. I know that sounds weird, but confirmation that you're acknowledging the issue.
Without passing blame to your team.
Or taking full responsibility. Like, you never know now what could happen. So take a deep breath, start formulating your response, and then depending on the severity. So, for example, if you're this is a terrible example, but it happens. You're driving these marked vans and someone's in an accident and it kills someone. I would not the next day have a dancing video from your team on social media, right? So what do you need to take down? What do you need to push out that isn't this big celebratory thing? Taking 7 to 10 days to help let the dust settle a little bit. If it's that extreme, odds are you are going to think it's more extreme than it is because you're overprotective of your own companies. But as far as marketing goes, trust your marketing company to know when you should pause some things.
Just lay low.
Yeah, lay low versus when should you just business as usual with a response. Yeah. So I thought those were good.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. How about this one? How do you know when to scale up or pivot your marketing efforts? Well,
first thing I'm going to say, you've got to have some type of trackability to know
anything.
Well,
say it again.
A CRM system. Okay, let's start with that. But then also, tracking phone numbers, dynamic QR codes that can take you to the direct landing page. You can follow them around, see where they're going. So you've got to have something in place. Do not just put your one phone number that you've had since 1964, never changed it, and that's the phone number that everyone calls and everyone knows. You will never know the performance of that direct mail campaign or that digital campaign or whatever it might be. You've got to have some segmentation out to it, and depending on your own system, you can get as granular as you want or a little bit more broad, but still have some insight to it. But to me, to know whether to pivot or scale up, you've got to have some type of trackability to look at what is actually happening. What are the actual numbers, the data to it versus my gut feeling?
Yeah. Like, versus you're just hungry.
Or like, I personally just hate social media. So social media sucks. But it's like, okay, well, just since you never log on or you log on once every 6 months, you just have that bad taste in your mouth, whatever. But like, here's the data, here's the numbers. It is performing. It is working.
I'll tell you where people really make the biggest mistakes. It's personal relationships. It's going to sound weird, but I've known the lady at that magazine for 30 years. I don't want to pull my marketing. And I'm like, you don't have to pull it. Just understand it is not literally generating one lead. So we either need to change it over to be strictly marketing, change our expectations of that advertising piece, or we need to understand that it's not working. We need to pivot and move around.
Or
So
you can get a little creative too on like maybe the actual discount that you offer, or mention this coupon code. Like that can
Let's
be
get
another little
aggressive.
way. Yeah, and that can be another little way to show like, oh, I know that came from that source because they use that coupon code, or
Yeah, and so I'll tell you this too. So I'm going to talk specifically to the home service contractors because I know we have a wide variety of people on here, but specifically, so home service contractors, the problem is if you were to go look right now in your CRM, those of you that are on Service Titan, Field Edge, House Call Pro, Sarah, you're going to be like, well, all my work is from existing customers. No, it's not. No, it's not. And here's why I can tell you that. Just because in the summer of 96, you went out and put in 1 pound of refrigerant, that does not mean that that customer is still your customer.
they probably don't even remember what happened in
No,
1996.
no, and
Yes.
somebody's already died and different people moved in that house.
Correct.
No. So what's happened is you really need to get clear with your team on the inside of your office. You need to know where the call came from. So point of acquisition, customer point of acquisition, like where did this client come from is one thing. Like, well, they've been a client, right? But normally the lead source is something other than they just woke up and decided to call you. So that is true. That happens all the time. Like if I were to wake up right now and my house was hot, I would call McWilliams. That's who my heating and air conditioning company is, right? But a lot of times something is going to prompt me, or I'm going to search something. So my favorite thing is when I look at Google local service ads and they're all existing customers, and my contractors will say, well, that's my client. And I hate to break it to you, but they didn't go to the internet and search Crystal's Heating and Air Conditioning. They went and said AC repair near me or AC repair Lufkin, Texas. So they weren't even looking for you. They found you by accident.
Oh yeah, I got reminded about them.
Yes, but they didn't even, what we want, what is golden to us is when people go to the internet and say phone number for Crystal's Heating and Air Conditioning, right?
Mhm.
Not, let me go free agent and see who all pops up.
Yeah.
And so really diving into your numbers of who is actually showing up in your customer, existing customer. I hate that campaign. You should not even have that campaign in your tracking software unless it's your legacy number. And your legacy number, here's a pro tip. I'm going to speak a language that most people won't, but if you're on here, you'll get it. If you will connect your legacy phone number to one of your tracking numbers and let your phone company know, hey, phone company, this is my legacy number that I've had 30 years, but will you please forward it to this tracking number inside of Service Titan or whatever, inside of CallRail? Then you can now track who's calling your legacy number and still maintain ownership of your legacy number. So it's a little convoluted, but it gets you to the end goal there.
Well, and another point is, you said you hate it when people are only marketing to their existing customers or all their sales come from their existing customers. Well, that's not true. Like there is a well that will dry up from your existing customers. You have to constantly be adding back to it because there will come a time where you have serviced all of them. They do not need you anymore or at that specific time. So you've got to constantly be adding new customers to it. So, and then eventually you keep that well ongoing to where you can then remarket to those people and keep it as a continuous cycle, but you've got to be having efforts in place to be adding to your existing customers.
I mean, a client without new customers is a dying business.
Oh, 1,000%.
So and that's another little KPI that you should go look at how many new customers are acquiring every month. Mm-hmm. That's a simple thing to go look at. Again, if you don't have a CRM, let me encourage you about something. Gone are the days where just a storage of your names and addresses matters. Now we have to get aggressive and we have to get a little bit more forward on how we are getting new customers into our businesses. And so if you're not on a CRM right now, and I know we keep harping on that, but listen, we see it be so detrimental. Literally, if you ask me, one of the most detrimental mistakes that contractors make in their business overall is lack of proper tracking and point of acquisition pieces. Because not only do you not know where your money's working, you can't reach out, you can't rehash open leads, you can't reach out to existing customers because you can't pull the data. You can't mine the data enough to really know. So you're just literally got a blindfold in and you're like, well, here's $5,000, sir. I have no idea. Here's $10,000. Here's $20,000, but you don't really have any way of measuring it. And so it's kind of the definition of insanity. Like you can do some things. It's not the end of the world, but it is pretty detrimental.
No, and if you're really looking to grow or do anything beyond what you've already done, you got to take that step, that leap, bite that bullet. It is painful to get a new CRM system. It is, okay? I think we all know that. Either to switch from one to another or to just get on one. Your team's going to hate it for a while, but have some intentionality to get the buy-in, to get the why of why we're doing this. And you will see, I think, tenfold easily the benefit from it, from the data for your marketing insight and just being able to mine your existing customers. I mean, knowing your numbers just for your financial purposes. Like, hello.
Yeah, and let me tell y'all something else. This is gonna hurt y'all's feelings. Most of the time, y'all really don't care enough to get into the details. You just want it to work. And so you'll be like, well, this is just not working. I don't want to do it anymore. And so I'm like, okay, well, let's look at it. Right? My team is going to say, hang on, let's look at it. Because another thing that is detrimental is being so flippant with turning things on and off. Right? So a lot of things take time to work. Right? So if you've ever gone and had a really good dinner somewhere, like odds are you are not in and out of there in 10 minutes. That's why it's called fast food. Your expectations of a fast food dinner versus a 5-star sit down dinner are different.
Sure.
Because you give things time is different. You're using time for different things. And so a lot of contractors, y'all just want to be in the fast food line. Y'all just really want things fed to you as fast as they'll work, when really this is much deeper than immediate lead generation. So people say, if I'm a brand new company, what do you recommend? This is going to shock some of you, but like I recommend, there's nothing wrong with lead aggregators like Angie, Home Pros, Nextdoor, Yelp. There's nothing wrong with that. As a matter of fact, those are actually really good ways to get some immediate traction, right? But once you have your life figured out and $5 in your pocket, I get out of that, because you just, it's their price kickers. It's a race, right? You're racing everybody else. And again, Yelp is one of those things that you just have to, Yelp is not a bad move. You just have to constantly be evaluating your processes and like working with a company to help you optimize that. Like Yelp, and now, depending on where you live, if I were to ask 5 East Texans if they use Yelp, I would get 6 no's. Okay. So, but again, we have clients that like a large portion of their budget is Yelp. They have perfected a Yelp strategy.
Southern California.
Yeah. Like California, bless y'all. Y'all love some Yelp. East Texas, though, like it's just not the same game. That's why Emily and I can't sit here and give you a broad marketing strategy. Like, well, just tell me what works. I have to ask questions. Lemon Seed, literally, as part of onboarding with us, is we do a deep dive into what you're currently doing, what has worked, and who you're talking to.
Absolutely.
Because my analogy all the time that the team laughs at me because they're sick of hearing it is like, you never go to the doctor and walk in and sit down and they walk in and immediately hand you a prescription for allergy medicine. Well, without talking to you, without taking any what do you call it? Like your temperature, your vitals, right? Without looking, tell me what's going on, right? They actually ask you, like, what is your problem? They are the expert. Like Lemon Seed is the marketing expert, but I've got to understand what got you here, sir. Were you outside licking handrails over there at the skate ranch for a birthday party? Like maybe you have that. Maybe you have a cold. But
who did that?
Any children.
Okay.
I'm like, do you have your mouth on the handrail at the skate ranch?
Oh, okay, you're still talking about the doctor. I thought you were talking about the contractor.
Oh no, my bad.
Oh, what contractor's licking the rails at the skate ranch?
But no, I mean, like, you need to be asking yourself hard questions about your strategy. So,
well, and I think you need to be asking questions to your digital partner or to your marketing partner. Like if they're like, okay, here you go, it's not customized. How can you expect that to perform? It's not a one size fits all by any means.
Well,
and if someone is pitching that to you, I would be skeptical.
Red flag.
Wave the red flag.
Well, we actually had to tell somebody, which this is not my style at all because I want to help everybody. We actually had to tell somebody last week, you are not going to be a good fit for Lemon Seed. Mainly because they literally sent us an email that said, stop asking us any questions, just do what we tell you to do. That was the gist of it. And I was like, I refuse to just give you blanket information, because this is number one, you're not going to look back in 3 months and be like, I'm so glad that I just gave them blanket information, and the contractor wasn't going to be happy either. So it takes time.
Mhm.
You do have to meet with Lemon Seed. You do have to meet with your digital provider. You have to talk to a designer. You have to actually make videos for social media. Like marketing, I hate to break it to y'all, it is not one of the things that you can set it and forget it. Now you can buy it. You can go get you somebody that their goal is to take care of your marketing. But odds are you are going to have to sacrifice a little bit of yourself and time. And you can look at your calendar and see what you prioritize. So if there's not one marketing meeting on your whole month, you're not prioritizing marketing. You might think you are, but you're not.
That's true. I mean, like you said, like you just got to care a little bit, you know?
I say all the time, Lemon Seed cannot care more about your business than you do.
Shocker.
You know, I mean, yeah, but at the end of the day too, like marketing companies, I was dealing with, there was a social media feed going on about, I'm tired of people taking advantage of people. I would bet that less than half of actual problems that are happening between contractors and vendors are actual vendor problems.
I would agree.
And listen, so Lemon Seed serves as like, a facilitator of things. So we work with several different digital vendors and several different direct mail vendors. And I'll be honest, I rarely run across a bad one. I'm like, ooh, stay away. I mean, I do run across them, but it's rare. More than anything, I find good-hearted vendors that want to see their people be successful. The client will not show up. Yeah. Or they will not pay, or they will not take care of things operationally.
Or they've done super janky things themselves. Like they had their cousin set up their website and their Google business profile.
I went and turned all my Google local services off, but I'm mad that it didn't work.
Why can't y'all get it to work? I mean, y'all been trying on it for 2 weeks now. Y'all suck. It's like, well, you did this the most ridiculous way.
Yeah, and we're saying this because I see contractors blame good vendors when really it's like, okay, what's happening here that I need to do this? So again, another complaint that we get is it's not generating leads. Y'all, I am not lying to you. I will go log into your CRM and I will show you where you are getting leads a lot of times and either not answering them or not booking them. But see, we're mad at whatever vendor source we were using to generate those leads. And so it's just an encouragement. Like Crystal Williams, I always start with where part do I have to play in this?
Sure.
Start there. Like, what could we have done better? And then what could the vendor have done better? And how do we get on a better page? It behooves you most of the time to work it out than it does to start all over.
Well, and just another reason of why I think it's so important to have a CRM is so that you can see those numbers in that data so you can know what part of this is mine. So like, is my booking rate down? Is my closing rate down? You have to have that insight to where like, oh, I might need to get some CSR training, or, oh, my marketing offers, my technicians or my comfort advisors, they can't seal the deal. They can't close the deal. So like, do we need to have a different offer? Do we need to have sales training for them? But you have to have that data to be able to take a look at yourself.
Absolutely.
And willingness to do it too.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great thing. So we can open it up to some questions. Listen, and no marketing questions are off limits. We'll tell you if we can't answer it, but I'll give everybody a minute to post some questions. But
Who's been loving our
oh yes, who's jealous? Who's jealous of this? I will tell you another question that I got the other day was, hey, if I were to rebrand my company, what is the expectation of return? So that's a little tricky too.
It is.
Yeah. So mainly because y'all, it is a Lemon Seed marketing in general is at the mercy of the contractor. Mm-hmm. So if you ask me, I do not think that marketing is the sole purpose that companies grow. I actually think the biggest indicator that a company is going to grow is the operator.
100%.
I can watch contractors that have been in this space. And so God love y'all if some of y'all are on here, but you've owned a company for 15 years, 20 years, and you can't get over $1.4 million. You can't get over $2 million. And you're mad because people are passing you by and they've been in business 3 years and they're at 5 million, 8 million, 10 million. And a lot of times it pairs down to riskiness. And on the marketing side, so willing to invest up front. So investing before you have the money is the scariest thing you can ever do. But also like running a tight ship on your average ticket expectations, your turnover expectations, how you are set up. So what does the customer journey look like with you? So if a customer cannot call you before 8 a.m. because your team is not working, or if they can't call you between 11 and 1 because your team is at lunch, or you expect no one's air conditioner to break after 5 or on the weekends, that's a problem. And so you're not going to have high customer satisfaction with the journey because the journey is not built for the consumer, it's built for the client.
Well, and another thing, how successful will a rebrand be? I think is like, how successful are you implementing it?
Yes.
Like I see all the time. Okay, great. They wrote the check. They paid Lemon Seed for the brand, and then like, where does it live?
We got an email from a person the other day that wanted to talk, and they were like, "We rebranded a year and a half ago and have done nothing with it."
And it's so
I'm
sad.
like, that's sad. Like, because do you know how much momentum you can get?
I mean, it's literally like heartbreaking. That's why I'm so passionate about branding.
Emily will be crying in a minute.
No, I know, because like I've seen it transform companies.
Oh,
I've
yeah.
seen it
Change
transform
lives.
lives.
Yes.
And so it is heartbreaking when they have a brand, a good logo, they have a design for a
A
truck.
good truck wrap. Yep.
Yeah, and then like not even anything digitally, guys. To change your website on your Facebook page, file upload. Like that's how easy it is to change that out, and then you still won't have, or you'll have this brand confusion where like you got these trucks driving around, but then you're sending out these postcards, hey, call us, and then they land on your website. You're like, are these the same people? Like I don't even know. And so you got to have that consistency. Remove any brand confusion. Remove any excuses. Take a look at your own self.
Yeah.
How can you be implementing it? So a rebrand is not the silver bullet to fixing everything. Like Crystal, it's hugely operational. It's hugely in how are you going to implement this new brand? How are you going to bring it to life? But when done the right way, I mean, we've seen numerous companies, smaller companies, where it's doubled their business in 1 year. All of a sudden they're getting noticed. All of a sudden people have a
or they think they're bigger than they are.
Yeah,
you know, that's a really good point. I really think it's fear. Fear. So I love Jesus all. So does Emily. So we'll talk about fear is a liar. Fear is a liar, and it not only faith based, but fear of everything. Like again, scared money don't make money. So I'm not saying go get a $150,000 loan necessarily to launch all of this stuff, but I do think that there is power in a strategy to how you're going to roll this out. So there's so many things that are just like, okay, now that I've got my new logo, how do I tell my existing team? Your existing team should be the first people that learn about it.
Absolutely.
And then how do I tell my existing customers? When do I update my social media? When do I update my web graphics? What if I can't rewrap every vehicle that I have? How do I feel that?
Yeah.
Do we have a question, Andrea? Not yet? Okay. How do you field these questions? So we had one client that changed their name. And so I was like, now listen, we don't need to be driving around a van with an old name on it because they're going to go look for this. And so that's really when things change the most, I think, when you change your name.
If you're changing your name, there has to be a lot more intentionality and quickness also.
That's why some of y'all that are small right now, it is time now. Do it now on your way to growing big.
It will save you
money
and time and heartache and headache than when you're gigantic and you really need to change it.
You're $10 million and we got to wrap, what is that? 15 trucks, so just some encouragement there. Well, while we're waiting to make sure there's no other questions, our next social media live is called Hop into Spring. I'll give y'all one guess of what y'all think we're going to be using as our little icons, but Hop into Spring with Spring Marketing. So it is April the 10th, Thursday, April the 10th. It's mainly because we are going to be at Service Nation's event in Boston with a really cool surprise. It's going to be cool. Really excited that Lemon Seed's offering something really cool with some great partners. So I cannot wait for y'all to hear about that. But also it's a little bit before Easter. So we hope that you guys can join us, but we're going to be talking about things to get ready in springtime for your marketing, maybe your messaging and tactics that are cool things. Cause remember we are in and have another month in checkup season. And so what can we be doing right now to really make the most of those? So we hope you join us for that. Any other questions, Andrea? Did you see anything? Andrea is our engineer behind the scenes. She did take off the eyebrows, but
she does everything.
Yes. So I think we are good. And so guys, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so
on
much.
Our live. We will see you again, April the 10th, 3:00 Central Standard Time.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Da, 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 da. I shall dance until we end. I wish they could see your desktop.